Welcome to Zivostoria. Today, we are going to talk about the Trump phenomenon. We're going to deconstruct it piece by piece, looking at the calculated strategies, the political playbook, and even the psychological theories that try to make sense of one of the most, disruptive figures in modern politics. So, in this explainer, we'll break it all down into 4 key sections. First, we'll look at his performance and communication style. Then, we'll get into the political ideology behind it all. After that, we're going to explore some of the psychological theories people use to explain his behavior. And finally, we'll wrap up by looking at his lasting impact, the whole Trumpism paradigm.
Okay, so whether you love him or hate him, you've got to admit his style is different. But here's the big question we need to tackle. How much of that is just who he is, and how much is a calculated, deliberate strategy?
All right, let's dive into our first section, the calculated performance. We're going to look at this through the lens of semiotics, which is really just the study of signs and symbols. We're talking about how his nonverbal cues, his body language, it's not random. It's a huge part of his message, all designed to project power before he even says a word. So when you really break it down, you start to see these patterns, right? You've got that aggressive pointing finger, which sometimes turns into this kind of claw. That's all about targeting opponents. Then there's the wall gesture, which literally paints a picture of his border policies. When he uses open palms, it's meant to signal honesty, to build that rapport, that us against them connection. And that okay gesture, that's all about showing precision, showing he's in complete control of a deal. And here's the thing. These aren't just nervous tics or habits. Some analysts call them embodied performances. Think about that. They're strategic, almost like theater. They're designed to create these big, memorable moments that the media just can't ignore. It's basically turning politics into a primetime spectacle. And this whole performance thing, it's not just physical, it's totally verbal too. The whole strategy is built on simple, direct, and really repetitive language. Think about a powerful slogan like, "Make America Great Again." It's not just a tagline, is it? It becomes this massive cultural thing, super easy to remember and packed with emotion.
Okay, so you've got this unique performance style, but how does it all fit into a bigger political strategy? Well, the answer is that it plugs right into a very old and very effective playbook, right-wing populism.
So what is right-wing populism? At its core, it's an idea that frames politics not as, a calm debate over policy, but as this epic battle for the very soul of the nation. It sets up the leader as the one true defender of the national culture against all these supposed threats from outsiders and a corrupt establishment. And the way this playbook works is by drawing a really sharp line in the sand. It's all about us versus them. On one side, you've got us, the real people, the forgotten man, who are painted as the victims of a totally broken system. And on the other side, that's them. The elites, the deep state, globalists, outsiders, they're the ones to blame for everything. It's a simple story, and that's exactly why it's so powerful. And you can see exactly how this theory plays out in the real world. A huge part of the strategy is something called nativism. By talking about immigration as an invasion, for example, it taps directly into some really deep-seated fears. It just resonates with voters who already feel like their jobs and their whole way of life are under attack. Okay, so we've looked at the performance, the how, and the political playbook, but what about the why? To get at that, we need to peel back another layer and look at some of the psychological theories that analysts have used to try and explain the motivations behind it all.
Now, we're getting into some pretty controversial territory here, so it's important to be clear. Some mental health professionals have brought up a concept called malignant narcissism. So what is it? Well, it's not an official diagnosis you'd find in a textbook. It's more of a theory, a way to describe a combination of traits: extreme narcissism, antisocial behavior, paranoia, and even what looks like getting pleasure from seeing rivals fail.
But, and this is a huge but, it is absolutely critical to understand why this is so controversial. There's something called the Goldwater Rule from the American Psychiatric Association, and it's a big deal. It flat out prohibits psychiatrists from diagnosing public figures they haven't actually examined in person. The reasoning is that it's just unethical and, frankly, irresponsible. So this rule has sparked a really fierce debate inside the psychiatric community. On one hand, you have professionals who say, look, if we see a potential danger to the public, we have a duty to warn people, and that trumps the rule. But on the other hand, you have many others who say, nope, doesn't matter. Diagnosing from a distance is always just unethical armchair psychology, period. And what does Trump himself say about all this? Well, for his part, he has always consistently and very forcefully rejected any questions about his mental fitness. He basically points to his track record, his business success, winning the presidency in 2016, as all the proof anyone needs of his stability, and, as he puts it, his genius.
So you take the performance, you add the political playbook, and you mix in the psychology. What do you get? What's the lasting impact of all of this? Well, that brings us to our final section, the whole paradigm shift that people now call Trumpism.
One of the clearest results is a political environment that is just deeply polarized. Think about this. As of early 2024, a crazy 71% of Americans feel like their side in politics is losing more than it's winning. When everyone feels like they're losing, it creates this constant sense of grievance, and it makes every single political fight feel like a do-or-die battle. And that feeling gets even worse because of what some people call a total breakdown in our shared reality. Get this, around 80% of adults in the US believe that people on the other political side can't even agree with them on basic facts. If you can't agree on the facts, how can you possibly agree on how to solve problems? And that's the dynamic we're talking about. You've got this post-truth environment where feelings often matter more than facts, and you combine that with a sense of constant crisis. That's created this whole new way of doing politics. That's what analysts mean when they say Trumpism, and it has absolutely changed the game for how elections are run and how leaders talk to us. And that quote really nails it, doesn't it? This whole thing isn't just about one guy or one presidency. It's become this incredible case study in how one single person's personality and their way of communicating can completely reshape the politics of a global superpower. So that leaves us with one last big question to chew on. Is he a master strategist who bent the world to his will, or is he simply a product of our divided and anxious times? What do you think? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives like this.